everybody. BeyondDrewTV here. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to Lunawood. As always, when I'm doing Lunawood, I'm joined by my friend, my compadre, Mr. HardPunkKore. What's up, buddy?
Hey, how's everybody doing?
They're doing. We're all doing. We're sitting inside, looking outside, wishing we were there. So,
nothing better to do when you're stuck inside than watch some cool YouTube videos.
There you go. So yeah, and we made sure to have the sun out and look really nice in ours, so that you can feel like, just put a fan on you, maybe sit close to the oven and turn it up to like a few hundred degrees, and then you'll feel like you're here in Lunawood with us. So, so today is gonna be a really, really fun episode. This is like technically episode 23, and the last time we've done a lore episode was episode 8, which is kind of crazy.
Probably close to 2 years ago at this point.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, as you saw in that intro, because I'm definitely going to do that because we had the idea too. You saw what the place that we're going to look at used to look like, and now we're going to kind of go through, take a look at what the American Adventure looks like now, and talk about why it looks like it does now.
So if you were hoping to see some new builds, you're going to be a little disappointed, but we're going to actually take a walkthrough of the park. We're going to take a look at some of the rides that we've built the last 2 years minus the last 6 months, because nothing got built in the last 6 months. But and we're also going to tell the story of why the rides are there and what was there before and how everything kind of shaped up to what it looks like today.
Exactly. So, basically just sit back, relax. This episode might go a little bit longer. We're going to probably be a little bit long-winded and talk way too much about certain areas. But hey, that's what these episodes are for. So, so cool.
Get your popcorn ready.
Get your popcorn. But let's go ahead and we're going to enter into the American Adventure from the left side. We're going to try and not recreate episodes that we've already done before, because I'm pretty sure I've started a few episodes off just like this. But let's look at... this whole little area of our American Adventure Main Street there. So this little Main Street area, which is going to encompass this little half circle, or this basically this circle right here. This is all original American Adventure. So whenever we say original American Adventure, what we're harping to is basically the early to mid 70s. And they just, all these buildings have that kind of same Americana, again, just kind of mid-70s Americana theme park feel to them and everything. So, and these buildings have been here for a while. So,
You could say some of the stuff inside the buildings has come and gone over the years with different sponsors and different eateries and everything, but the buildings have pretty much stayed the same over the years.
So hinting to what HPK said, and we talked about this in the episode that we covered this, but up here when I was building this little Main Street area, I saw this in Cedar Point, Six Flags, Holiday World, you name it. I think every single park that I looked at for reference, they all have at least a few buildings that have signs that were definitely for like an old restaurant that are still there, that are kind of faded, but then they just kind of slapped a new one in front of it, being like, no, don't worry, you can't see the old sign behind it, even though it's right there. But so that's just a nice little fun little piece of lore. Be like, this has been probably 2 or 3, maybe even 4 other different kind of buildings, but now it's Professor Worst. So so that is that there. And then same with pretty much all the rides as well, as far as like the Dodgems and the classic whip ride, and your the newest ride over here that would have been put in would be your whatever this crazy thing
the American Spinner. That would have been a relatively new ride. Maybe it replaced the flat ride that was broken down all the time. That was already there. Obviously the cement plot was already there. So, but the bumper cars, the whip, and the paratrooper were there, and they've been there. So
So so for the American Adventure area, this is kind of your jumping off point for the whole land, for the full area. And this stuff has been here since the mid 70s there. But let's go ahead and
this is also where they do the parade.
Oh yeah, exactly. So you have your little backstage area here. You can kind of see the route, but exit out the backstage doors here, go around all the way, and come back in that way. And you can even see over here I've put in little certain areas, little parade poles, so to keep the people back on the sidewalk as the parade comes around the corner and stuff. So there you go. But yeah, should we move on to the next area of lore?
Yeah.
So actually, no, you need to do a big cut for this because we can just go where we are. So yeah, the car ride and the Ohio Wrecker.
They would have been original American adventure rides and attractions. And they were, car rides are old, and they're actually kind of, you don't really see them anymore, but they, for whatever reason, it gets enough ridership. It's an easy maintenance ride, so they, still there today.
Yeah, and do you think the layout for it would have probably stayed the same throughout the years, or would they have had to...
probably. Maybe the buildings on the first half of it, they'd probably get a fresh coat of paint every so often.
Right. And yeah, it's interesting you say...
maybe the poster boards, because there's a lot of advertisements on it. Maybe those get changed out every so often.
Right, just to update with the modern advertising and everything. But I can't remember the park that did it, but it was interesting you said that a lot of parks are getting rid of these. I think it was... I can't remember the name of the park, but some of the parks are bringing them back. I think it was actually a Kings Park is bringing back their car ride. And stuff
that's cool, because they're definitely interesting, and they're really like a one-of-a-kind style ride where you don't really have many rides like this. The last one that I know that I saw was at Busch Gardens, Williamsburg. I think it's since been removed.
Yeah.
But I mean,
which
to have a vehicle where you have free steering and it's just got the rail in the middle of the road that keeps you from going too far to the left or to the right. This is probably my first experience really driving when I was a wee young lad.
One of my favorite memories from theme parks are driving in these things for sure, but it becomes a dilemma just because they kind of do take up a big portion of land in some cases, which could probably be used for something more modern and stuff. But yeah, it's always the push and pull of, do we put in the new flashy cool thing or stick with the almost nostalgia or the fan favorite kind of thing. So,
and good choice of words, because that'll bring us right over to Ohio Wrecker.
There you go. So yeah, speaking of old
and nostalgia, and yeah, this ride is rickety as all hell, but it's one hell of a coaster credit.
Right. Yep. Nope. Just good old classic. Well, yeah, you built this. What was your inspiration for it and everything?
I tried to do like a really old style, like I guess probably like 60s, 70s, kind of like a Coney Island Cyclone type of ride, and where when I was building this, I kind of wanted it to be like a there and back kind of thing, but didn't really have the space to do that. And then, you look at the older wooden roller coasters, are usually like an oval or two, and the tracks usually double up next to each other, so it saves on the wooden supports. That's what I really tried to do.
That's now that you said Cyclone, I can see that 100%.
Yeah, I mean it's got the first drop, and then it has the elevated turnaround, and then it has a few hills, and I mean it's your standard wooden roller coaster that's probably would be about that age.
Right. Yep, and then speaking of that age, when it first opened, followers of Lunawood are going to know this, but when it first opened, right here used to be a nice little bridge that the queue, or the line here, would have connected across and joined, if I can get the camera going, there we go, would have joined up over here, across the way, because it was so popular when it first opened kind of thing. And then you even have the extended queue right over here that's now
overgrown and forgotten about.
Yes, I love it. That's one of my favorite things we put. So yeah, you have all this that eventually you can obviously see the bridge is no longer in use just because over the years there's been a few additions to the park that are a little bit better and more popular than the Ohio Wrecker here. But the park didn't want to get rid of Ohio Wrecker altogether. So just get rid of the queue a little bit. The ridership's down, but we can just sacrifice some of the queue for some new rides and stuff.
Yeah. So they took out the bridge, but it's just too costly to remove the foundation, so... Especially with the water being there, because they'd have to get rid of the water to remove all the foundation and all the work that went into underground and dig it up and break it apart. And we'll remove the bridge and leave everything as it is.
Yeah, I mean, we could either spend some money and make it look nice, or, the bridge is gone, so... that seems good enough.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that is the little plaza, or the little area for our car ride and the Ohio Wrecker there, which again are both part of the original American Adventure expansion there. So in the mid 70s there. So
yeah, the Ohio Wrecker probably would have been the third coaster this park had, because as you can see off in the distance there, we talked about it in the last episode. The Action Zone would have had the first roller coaster, which was the side friction coaster. Pieces of it are in the backstage rotting away. They got rid of it. They put the Action Zone in, and it was a failed attempt to bring money in, and park went bankrupt, and Luna Parks Inc. came in and bought it and revamped up the whole area, the whole park. And we'll talk about some more of the stuff that Luna Parks Inc. did when they bought it as we go around.
Yep.
And then we'll talk about the second coaster when we get to that area too. The Ohio Wrecker would have been the third coaster.
Right. Yep. So the third, and then they were all wooden coasters up to that point as well. So
yep, they're all wooden coasters.
So, but speaking of the line of Ohio Wrecker and bringing in new stuff, that brings us to the Plaza area, and that's actually the name of it here. As you can see, HBK named it the Plaza because he's original. This whole park original with our naming. But yeah, so this Plaza area, we were saying right beforehand that probably 95% of this area here is pretty much original expansion, except for, if it's not obvious enough, I don't even know what this ride is called, but
I called it the Spin Sanity just because it's a new ride and they're trying to go extreme, like it's the Spin Sanity.
It's extreme. Yeah.
So it's brightly colored, and it sticks out during the day because it's big and red. But they would have thrown this in. There's probably just more area for tables and spots to sit. But what they did do when they added this ride in is they repurposed the queue that was left over from Ohio Wrecker, which, if you guys remember when we covered this episode, we talked about it. But we'll give you another real quick look at it.
So, yep, so this is the extended queue of Ohio Wrecker, now just turned into the Spinsanity.
Yeah, you can clearly see where the newer sections are and where the older sections are, so.
Right. Yep, there you go. So there's that.
Little core lore nugget for that.
And then the ride across from it, just so we don't forget it, Wild Eagles. The Wild Eagles, a lot of these rides are making a comeback within the last few years, as I know Carowinds, I believe, just installed one of these, and a few other parks are lined up excuse me, to get them as well. But these rides have been around for a long time. I remember going on one, I can't remember the park, but when I was a little kid and everything. So yeah, this would be an original ride for the park as well, the Screaming Eagles there, the Wild Eagles. But yeah, no, this whole little capped off area, this is where the original kind of boundary of the park would have been as well.
See, this backstage road would have ended here. It would have been a dead end that would have went to our backstage from the last episode that we showed, and that probably would have been it. It would have went to Ohio Wrecker, and that would have been it.
Right. Yep. And then it would have gone just the rest would have been the woods, basically, that this park was built on. So, but yeah, no, that is the plaza area there, the little dead-end capped-off plaza where you can get all of your foods and beverages and shop and do what you need to over here.
Yeah, and the same thing goes for this place, is where all the, the food and the eateries and the drinks and everything could have come and gone as time went on since the 60s. Obviously the food that we got now is just the sponsorships that we have today.
Right. Yep.
Your
exactly.
Gulpy and your Chief Beef and your Street Fox and whatever else tickles your fancy.
Right. And then as we come down this way, come into some areas that we just kind of tackled a little bit, so we're not going to talk fully about it. If you want to see our full explanation and overview of the wharf area, go back one episode and you will see that. But for lore's sake, why don't you take away, HP? You kind of have a better
yeah, so this would have been this and the shredder, which we'll talk about in a minute. This would have been part of an area that got redone in the 90s when Luna Parks Inc. came in with their flashy pocketbooks and their deep pockets and everything. They bought the park from the original owners, and then they're like, okay, well, this area is dilapidated and falling apart. We're going
Do you think it would have been a wharf area always, and they just kind of revamped it, or was it something like a different theme beforehand?
Maybe. I guess we probably didn't think about that before.
I know, I just thought of it. I threw you a curveball. So.
Yeah, he did throw me a curveball. Well, for lore's sake, let's say it was like a port kind of style.
Yeah, and then they just ran with the wharf idea.
And maybe they came in and they redid some of the buildings and some of the facades to update it a little bit more to the 90s aesthetic, along with trying to keep it that traditional Americana that the rest of the park is already in still.
Right. Boom. Good.
And they would have revamped or remodernized, or the Sky Whirl, since that's an old classic. Gave that some love and some grease, and make sure that was working still good. And
yeah, just kind of this whole area, just doing that, just giving the whole place a touch-up.
Touch-up, there you go.
Is that the word you're looking for? Gotcha.
Yeah, just, an overhaul on the maintenance and making sure everything is up to date and up to code.
Right. So, so that's what we were thinking with that area. And that would have been in concordance at the same time-ish, maybe separate a year or two between them. But, while they were doing this huge shredder expansion. And when we say huge, that is because, again, this would have been the first-ish big expansion that the Luna Parks Inc. Would have done after buying the park from the family there, the original family. And this would have been... There would have been no bridge, or I'm sorry, yes, there would have, because Pioneer. Anyways, I know the park. This would have basically just been woods. All this just would have been woods, and maybe a little canal right there.
Probably a little bit of backstage, too.
Sure, yeah, but nothing like substantial at all would have been in here. So that's why there's still a lot of the area. You can still see a lot of really big, heavy overgrowth and really thick woods and stuff, because a lot of this is... was maybe left behind, but most of it was kind of clear cut to put in one of these newfangled B&M invert coasters that were all the rage in the mid 90s.
Oh yeah, and just like we joked around when that video was, whatever video that was, I'm sure it was in the mid teens, but
something.
It was, the Batman rides were all the rage at the Great Adventure, or the Six Flag parks. They, what did they get, like 4 or 5 of them across the country. Lunawood was like, we need Batman, but not Batman.
Right, so if you're familiar with the Batman...
to Batman,
so if you're familiar with the Batman layout for the coaster, you might be looking at it and be like, that first element is similar, that second element is similar, and then it kind of tapers off, but still has kind of that kind of still looks a bit like Batman.
Yeah, it kind of has that feel, because and that's exactly what we were going for, was... it's got the same type of drop and the loop and the zero G roll, and then after that it's kind of like a knot. Yeah,
just a compact, like you said, knot, tangled mess after that.
So it was like wet spaghetti.
Yeah, exactly. And then all these other buildings that came along with it would have been part of the expansion as well, because they were just pretty much, all right, this is going to be our first expansion. We're not just going to do a coaster. We're going to do a land, basically.
Yeah.
So this whole area is the Shredder area, which is just kind of... it's a pretty crappy theme to do for your first big themed area, because it's kind of a garbage dump. They were like, all right, we're going to come make a big punch in the theme park world. Give me a garbage dump.
We're going to theme it as a junkyard because the theme of the roller coaster is a race car that's on its last legs.
The Discovery Channel is going to be clamoring to come to this park to cover our garbage facility roller coaster, basically. So, but this is, again, just to reiterate, this is just one of the biggest expansions and one of the first expansions that Luna Parks Inc. Would have done in the early to mid-90s after they got their hands on the park there. So, cool. And then next up is a coaster that takes up almost double the land area of Shredder and its area, because I got a little carried away. But no, you know what? We're gonna lead into that with the backstage. Sorry. Let's talk about we'll talk about backstage real quick. There is a coaster down here we're not talking about, and that's on purpose. We just covered it in the last episode, and B, it's technically not part of the American Adventure, even though it's right there. So,
so if you're looking for more information on that coaster, you go back to episode 22, I believe.
Yep. Right before this one.
Yep.
Right before it. So, but yeah, for this one, and we did talk about this a lot in episode 22, so just a quick little overview, but this is the original backstage for the Park/American Adventure area there. So, it's ginormous, and that's on purpose, because it does it's the logistics for the majority of the park, basically.
Yep.
So, it did get added onto as the years have gone on. Speaking of Thunderbolt, my idea is that probably these front few structures here that are kind of newer looking probably would have been added in for Thunderbolt and other newer coasters and stuff like that. But for the most part, this whole backstage area probably would have been the size for the majority of its life there. And it was also, your main employee parking lot area.
Yeah.
You have this parking lot over here that's, dilapidated and abandoned now because of Thunderbolt, but it would have been in full use and full swing as well. So
this backstage was like we've been saying it, the primary backstage. The stuff in the front of it when the American Adventure was in its prime before Luna Parks Inc. got here, none of that stuff was there at the time. So
exactly. Yep, exactly.
This would have been your primary shipping and receiving, your primary storage, your primary ride construction. Everything would have been back here. And then slowly over time, we've talked about the front backstage in the first lore video way long ago.
Right.
Which now has the shipping, receiving, has, other maintenance buildings. So slowly over time, things would have migrated up here. But they still need the big building in the back for a lot of the other things. Maybe there's a greenhouse back there somewhere, and building for plants and trees and stuff. And
yep. So, but yeah, this is again just the original backstage for the park and for American Adventure as well. So, and what looms over it is Pioneer there, which was the original family's really big investment that did kind of pay off. This was the thing that got Lunawood kind of
put on the map
there.
Yep.
Yeah.
During the coaster wars of the 80s.
Yes. Yep. So during that time, if you're not aware, and we talk a lot about this in the Pioneer official video, but there was a company named Aerodynamics that built these giant coasters, and they were called basically giant aero looping coasters.
Yeah, custom loopers.
Custom, yes, thank you. So, Six Flags Magic Mountain, Six Flags Great America,
Great Adventure.
Yep, Great Adventure. All these different kind of parks had these just
was it the Loch Ness Monster at
Busch?
At Busch Gardens, yep. It's another one.
So, just really just huge, tall,
sprawling layout.
Huge, yeah, exactly. Huge sprawling layout. So by the this coaster would have came at kind of the tail end of those coasters being built, and Luna Parks was just like, or Lunawood was like, you know what, we're gonna do it bigger, better, faster. You know, they just kind of came to Aero and like, give us everything you can, and you have all this area to work in. Go. So they broke records with it. It's the longest of the Aero loopers as far as layouts goes.
Doesn't have as many inversions because most of them have 7. This one only has 6.
Yes, so we missed that by
actually
one
you know what, maybe that's right, we could say that there was like another corkscrew here, but they had to replace it with the shed.
Yep, that's where the shit. So there was the typical or the normal 7, but yeah, they're structural damage, so they put the shed.
The shed.
And that's how they would have advertised. That's totally how they would have advertised it, probably in like the 90s or something. Like, can you take the shed? And then you finally get in there and it's just flashing lights or something. So but yeah, no, so Pioneer is a really big staple for the park. And probably since we're building the park for today's time, for 2020, I guess 2019, 2020, Pioneer's probably getting to the point in its life where the park's going to have to make like a really tough choice with it, because a few things. Aero is not in business anymore, so if you want to get pieces to replace this, I've heard it's getting a lot tougher.
Yeah, you have to go through S&S, because S&S have bought a lot of their designs and the
part manufacturers and all that. Yep. So there's that. There's also what we've been harping on is this area of land that Pioneer sits on is almost double what Shredder's entire area is, or even Thunderbolt.
Even Thunderbolt too.
Exactly. So, it takes up probably a quarter of the land in the park almost by itself. So, and this isn't just for, Lunawood. This is, you can put this in real life. A lot of these, there's only maybe 2 or 3 of these left in the entire world.
Yeah,
and that's
Great Adventure got rid of theirs a while back for a B&M stand-up coaster.
Okay, yep, and Great America, we got rid of ours for Superman Ultimate Flight.
Yes, I think the only one left is Vortex at...
No, Vortex is gone. Now they just
tore
that down.
That's right.
It's just Magic Mountains.
Just Viper. Magic Mountains is the last one, and Loch Ness Monster.
And Loch Ness Monster, which it's funny you mention it, because I never associated that with the Mega Loopers.
Yeah, I don't know why it's not. I mean, it's definitely a Mega Looper. It's got what is it? It's got the only coaster with the interlocking loops.
That is so cool looking.
Yeah, it's definitely a staple, and it's got 2 lift hills, and it's got the helix in the that goes in the cover that looks like a mountain. It's definitely iconic for that park.
Yeah, I don't think they'll ever get rid of it. But then you have, on the flip side, you have parks like Six Flags Magic Mountain, who have Viper, which I think is the last one, and Magic Mountain is always in a coaster war with Cedar Point and other parks for the most coasters, and when they have that ginormous plot of land with a coaster that, kind of rightfully so, these coasters are not smooth at all
anymore.
No, so it gets really low ridership. It's basically sitting, from what I can tell from fans of Magic Mountain. If there are people that go to Magic Mountain and know this coaster better, please comment down below, let us know. But from what I can tell from people that visit all the time, it's kind of there just for nostalgia right now. Like, it's like not great. So it sounds like it's on its last leg.
I could say that, talking about the Great American Scream Machine, which the in-game model is modeled after. It even has the text on the front of the ride, the front of the train, like the Great Adventure model did.
Right.
It was one of my favorite rides, even though it was rickety, and your ears would be ringing by the time you got off it, and because your head was just bouncing around. Like
no thanks.
A ping pong ball between the harness that goes over your shoulders. But it was a good ride, man. It was a fun ride.
That's how I felt about Shockwave. Is that sure, you get off and your ears would be bleeding just a little bit, but that was the price you paid for riding an Aero Mega Looper.
Yeah.
And it felt weird when they were like, we're going to replace it with this flying coaster. And we're just like, oh, okay. I mean, that's cool, but you're replacing like one of the biggest coasters in the world, right?
Yeah.
But so anyways, wow, we went way off rails of a lore episode to just talking about Aero Mega Looper episode, but that's fine.
A little bit of nostalgia thinking about our favorite rides from the past.
Heck yeah, that's what kind of inspired this too when I was building it, was my memories on Shockwave. So, but yeah, so there's Pioneer, and if there's ever a Lunawood 2 or like a continuation, who knows what Pioneer's plot of land would ever look like in the next 5 years or something like that. Something to ponder. So cool.
Because there's definitely a lot of land there that, if they did, they could probably put 2 coasters on that same land.
They could totally put 2 coasters there, or like, but yeah. So, anyways, but underneath of Pioneer's gargantuan lift hill and plot of land, we have creepy clown land. Kitty land.
We could thank Fisherman for this.
Thanks, Fisher. But yeah, actually, we can thank him sarcastically because of that creepy clown, and then for real because he did a fantastic job with it.
Yep. There's this.
Never.
Man, this is great, and obviously thank you all the creators that made all the rides that we got off the that he pulled from the workshop.
Yeah.
When we went over this, when he built the video and we covered it, we went name by name with everybody. So I don't really think it's necessary to do it here since we already threw those guys their proper credit.
But so this turned out fantastic, and I'm noticing it now more and more that the color for it. So again, this is original Lunawood American Adventure expansion area. Yeah. So this has been around for a little bit.
60s.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, probably. You're right. It probably would have came before all the big expansions and been just a little area.
Yeah, and just like what we said with Pioneer, you would think probably in the next couple of years, maybe even with Pioneer, that Lunawood's probably got a nice, tough decision to make about what they're going to do with this. Because a lot of these rides are probably outdated and
it's a little bit faded with the colors. You can tell the park has not really stayed up with it, and that's usually an indication that they're like, all right, if the park's not putting money into maintenance as much, then that might be an indicator that it's time to move on. Time to do something different. So, but yeah, like HBK said, that it's probably late 60s, early 70s kind of thing. Been with the park forever, and yeah, it's a great little area of the park there. And then right across from it, we have SDan's mid 70s original log flume here.
Yep.
I always forget the name. Break Rock Falls. That's right. I always remember it's based off of Dollywood's, but I can never remember the name.
Daredevil
Break Rock
Falls, I think, is what it's called.
Yes,
and we could say the same thing about this. Well, not that the park is going to get rid of it, because on a hot day, it's the only water ride in the park. Everybody's going on this thing. So.
Yep. But as far as facelifts and stuff like that goes, since this has been around since the mid-70s there.
Another classic aerodynamics ride.
Yes.
The log flume.
You can't say that probably has gotten some facelifts, though, throughout the years, definitely. And actually, especially, we were talking about right across from it, we have the 4D theater. And we had you were talking about some really cool ideas for lore with this kind of thing.
Yeah, because usually theme parks have a 4D theater. I know Great Adventure does. But when you go and you wait in line in the facade building, basically in the inside, it's just cattle pens where you're waiting and staging to go into the theater. But there's always something playing, like a 5-minute movie, or they're giving you a briefing on what's going to happen when you go into the movie, the theater. Because those 4D theaters, the films for them where the chairs move and they're shaking you as you're going or whatever.
Get some smells.
You get those. I mean, they're never really more than 10 minutes long, so you're not usually waiting a whole lot in the staging building. But that's what that front building is, and then the building here off to the side is where the actual theater is.
Right. Yep, exactly. So that's just a little how these things work. If you haven't actually, if you've been in them and you're like, I don't understand how this works. That's how those kind of work. And same thing throughout the decades. That this whole little area could be kind of switched out with themes, and these facades could be rearranged pretty easily and everything. So, there is the Break Rock Falls area.
Yep. And then,
and I guess I forgot to talk about. I always forget about this little section, but this is just a little kids' play area that also would have been here since the very beginning. That's why a lot of the colors are faded from it. But I got this idea from Cedar Point. They just had this little
I mean, this area is definitely really cool, but you can definitely see that it's dated and it's been here for quite a while. It's just the houses are just literally walls.
they have wood thrown behind them.
And it's all just really aesthetic. Maybe the doors actually function, and maybe there's a little show that goes on there with a couple of characters. But
right. But it kind of shows the evolution of theme parks and entertaining, too, because, sure, back in the 70s, 80s, even 90s, I remember going to parks and having little facade sets to play around with and that. But, you go to parks today, it's kind of, generations evolve differently, and, electronics and iPads and all that kind of stuff is more prevalent, and newer areas kind of focus more on digital, entertainment rather than building out these kind of, I don't think you would kind of get this kind of area in a park these days.
No, probably
with
not.
Expansion.
No, I wholeheartedly agree with everything you just said. Definitely.
So who knows what it might even literally just be a little plaza with a cell phone charging port and like a bathroom.
Yeah.
So, but
I mean, you also have the other thing, like where you get the buildings too. I know Great Adventure has one where you can go in and it's got like the where you sing along to the song and it records you singing to it, and you get like a little music video, like that kind of stuff.
Right. Yeah, to download to like today's
kind of thing, where when this thing was built, that's what would have been. That's definitely something that would have been there.
Right. So yeah, I could see just for the lore, again, if we're just looking into the very Lunawood's, it's one of those parks that whenever we're building it, you can see it's on the cusp of like moving everything into the future kind of thing. There's a lot of older sections, a lot of areas that are about a year or two away from being like kind of gutted and redone kind of thing. So it's kind of fun to look at that. Man, we're going to have to do this park again, aren't we? And Planet Coaster too, like an updated version of it or something.
And then as we move down the road,
we just talked about all this.
Yeah, we just talked about all this 2 episodes ago.
Here's Bruce Banner Coaster, or Vortex.
Yep, which this would have been installed late 2000s, maybe early 2010s.
Yeah.
As we said, it's a cookie cutter or clone Eurofighter 320, but it's a
people pleaser.
It's a cheap expansion, but a good one.
Right. Yep. It's going to bring the GP in all the time, and again, they don't cost like hardly in theme park terms. They don't cost hardly anything. And what were you saying? You think was here beforehand? Just like some flat ride?
Yeah, probably a flat ride that took up that was already on the plot of the cement the cement pad there, and
right.
Like and right across from it is the chair ride, and initially they would have been the sky buckets that are traditionally in every parks, but when the wharf that we were looking at earlier got redone in the 90s, they would have updated to these.
Right. Yep. And probably the station, there's the word, jeez.
Yeah.
The station at the other end of the line probably would have looked similar to this as well, and then when it got redone in the mid-90s, they updated it to look like the wharf kind of thing. But this section down here has not been updated, and that just kind of goes back to the lore that we're talking about, that probably in the next few years that this area would be kind of converted and redone as well. So.
Yeah.
There is that, but right behind us, and it's been staring us in our face for a little bit now, there's this coaster over here.
Yeah, this monstrosity.
Yeah, yep, Iron Wolf there, which, if you already could guess, it's a RMC, so it was something different, or it was an original coaster before this.
So as we were talking before, Ohio Wrecker was the 3rd wooden coaster that has been here. This would have been the 2nd coaster. And before we settled on the name Iron Wolf, we were always kicking around the name Tomahawk. So we'll just say that was the wooden coaster that was here first, and then RMC came through and do what they do, and now it's called Iron Wolf.
Right, and the reasoning, just for the lore of it, so this coaster is obviously pretty smack dab in the middle of the park, and we're going to say the lore for it is that even though the coaster was right in the middle of the park, it's a big wooden coaster, nobody would touch this with a 2-foot pole kind of thing, or a 10-foot pole. So they were like, well, we can either go the route of let's blow it up get rid of it and try and cram something in this spot. But then that was the other part, is that since it's already in the middle of the park, and obviously it's not built up over here, but it's gonna be, it's in its spot. Like this spot was built for this coaster, and to fit anything else in it, you'd have to pretty much just build the layout of this coaster again. So then they're like, well, there's this one company, RMC, that are taking those old wooden coasters and putting a fresh coat of paint on them. Let's give them a ring. And lo and behold, here they come, and now you have Iron Wolf.
This would have been done in, what, 2015-ish?
If not sooner, just because there's no inversions on this coaster.
Yeah.
And RMC's only done that one other time with their like very first model that they
Texas
redid.
Giant, I believe. I think there actually is one other one that doesn't have any inversions, but we'll definitely say that this was either the second or third. Definitely is not. It was
newer.
Yeah, it's definitely not one of their newer ones. It was one of the first few ones that they rebuilt and redesigned.
Right. And then that was the reasoning with the park. They were just like, probably RMC wanted to put some like, barrel rolls and just whatever's on it, just go crazy. But the park was like, well, just do what you do, but without inversions, and keep the heart of the ride there, kind of thing. So it's just that's kind of what you have as a result, and I think it kind of turned out. I love this ride. This is I built this, and you tweaked it and stuff like that. But this is pretty much when I hung up building roller coasters. Like, all right, I did it. I feel good about it. I'm done. I'm not gonna.
This one definitely came out really good, and I just remember the 20 or so hours that I was doing the cement plot for it, and because it goes under, it's got ditches and stuff, and obviously there's still some touch-ups that we need to do with the custom supporting here and there, and the backstage next to it, but generally it's finished.
This section right here, I will always say,
it's definitely a fun ride to ride it, and you guys want to go back. I forget what episode it was, but we did ride it in that episode.
We did, and overall, just speaking of on-rides, now that I have and HBK has, we both have mega computers, both of us, we are going to go through and do on-rides. This is talking like months from now, but just I'm going to spout it off now. We will do on-rides with smooth and everything like that, videos and stuff like that. So for those of you that love on-rides and stuff like that, I hear you, and we will get you some awesome on-rides that are going to look great. So, but anyways, that is way in the future, what I'm talking about. So yeah, there's Iron Wolf, and again, this whole area for Iron Wolf would have been kind of touched up and redone, including the station and the queue for it, and you name it for the redo of it.
The drop tower would have been left though the way it was, and that's
right.
And as we talked about it in that episode, I think it was either 18 or 19. This was a mid-90s edition as well, and that's kind of when all these 250 foot drop towers were being installed. Like Cedar Point has a 4-tower, and was it Knott's Berry Farm has a 3-tower, and Hershey Park has I think they have a 2-tower drop tower.
Oh, do they? Okay.
Yeah, I think. But I believe these are all S&S drop towers too. So.
Right. Yeah, when this would have been like.
What do they call them? Not a drop tower.
Power tower?
A power tower, because it also shoots you up and down too. So.
Yeah, I think the power towers are the ones that shoot you up and down, and then the drop tower is just what it sounds like. It pulls you up and then drops you.
Yeah.
So, and then like you said, it's in the around the time that Shredder and the wharf area was getting redone, right when Luna Parks Inc. was taking the park over. And they were just like, yep, that would be a pretty good statement ride to kind of put Lunawood back on the map.
Yeah, because they had to, obviously the park visitorship was down. They were bankrupt. They came in, Lunawood came in, or Luna Parks Inc. came in, bought the park, and threw a bunch of stuff like rapid fire, like over the first 5 or 6 years. They had Shredder, they redid the wharf, the drop tower. Over the first couple of years, they spent some big money to get some stuff done right away to get people to come back to the park.
Exactly. And then, there's always those times in the years when you're not adding a big coaster, but they're adding in, this little flat ride or this little entertainment, 4D theater event or whatever. So But, is that all of it?
Yeah, that was actually went a little quicker than I thought it would.
I know. I thought this was going to be I guess you probably only finished half your popcorn, so I guess we can talk for just another half hour about nothing. So here's my thoughts on that. No, I'm just kidding.
So, I mean, if you have any other questions, be sure to ask them. We'll answer you as best we can. I mean, we didn't really talk about everything because even though the parking lot was overhauled and the campground was overhauled, all that stuff was still covered in the other lore episode, and all that stuff is still relevant and part of the lore, even if it looks different than what it used to.
Yep, exactly. So, but yeah, just as a refresher, this was just for the American Adventure area of the park, which is the bulk, of the of Lunawood there. But as the months go on, there we're going to be expanding out, the west and east sides of the park, and those are going to be your newest areas of the park. So there's not going to be as much lore. We'll still do kind of a lore episode for it, but it might just be like an overview / lore, because again, a lot of the stuff that we're going to be building from here on out is mid to late 2010, so we're talking max 10 years ago from today kind of thing. So
the Thunderbolt, which we said we weren't really going to talk about, that would have been installed in 2005ish, which I think we talked about in the last episode. So like I said, just to reiterate, that's why we didn't cover it, because that's a whole different land expansion. The first land expansion that was outside of American Adventure.
Great. Yep. So, but yeah, no, that's going to cover the American Adventure. This has been an episode long time coming for a long time coming.
Well, I mean, we were joking about before we even started recording. We were looking at a screenshot from the end of the last lore episode. And it was all green that we haven't worked back here, and
we put a tree line behind the Ferris wheel way over there. That's how little had been done at that point. So,
long time coming, and it's been a lot of fun to watch it expand. And
heck yeah.
In the process, we also recruited a couple of guys who helped us out and definitely expanded on what we were working on. So.
Yeah, and the next, we keep saying it every episode, but because we're not going to go anywhere this time, but the next, lore episode or the next few episodes expanding everything out, that will not take 2 years to get where we're at now. It'll be a lot shorter. We have all the motivation in the world, and we're working on the park day in, day out kind of thing now. So, yeah, that's there's going to be a lot more stuff coming. So, if you're not already subscribed to the channel, do that so you can stay up to date as we finish this thing out. We're going to do it. We're going to finish it.
And it's, just to reinforce that we're back. I mean, 3 episodes in about 2 weeks' time, we're back, we're ready to go, we're ready to finish this thing, and, we're going to do it.
We're gonna do it.
I'm
gonna do it. So, but cool. All right. Well, we'll stop jabbing your ears off there for a little bit. But yeah, you'll see us soon there, and we'll show you some new stuff in the theme park there. But so just to reiterate again, if you haven't already, be sure to hit subscribe. If this is your first time hanging out with us, and you've made it this long already in the video, also hit the like button. It really does help out the channel, helps the video get more views and all that fun stuff there. So yeah, hey, for Lunawood there, I've been BeyondDrewTV.
I'm HBK, man. I hope you guys enjoyed the walkthrough that we gave you today and all the history.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, and like you said, comment down below if you have any more questions about the lore or the park at all. And until the next episode, we'll see you then.
Take care, everybody. Wash your hands.
Wash your hands.